Guys, Point Horror Book Club night. Oh, this one's a bit shiny. I'm going to be talking about The Lifeguard by Richie Tankersley Cusick, one of my favourite point horror writers. We've gone all 80s tonight because we've got a brilliant guest who's 80s. Hi everyone. Right, I'll just see if I can add Grace in. Invite. Okay. Oh, I'm gone. Accept. Right, hopefully we'll have Grace on. Fingers crossed if it works. Hiya!
Hi, Shelley. How
Hello!
are you?
I'm alright. Welcome to the 80s.
Welcome to 1988, I think it is. Yes, I love your
Definitely.
outfit.
I love yours as well. It was weird when we was getting ready. We didn't know how each other was going to dress. We've gone for like a bit of a
Yeah,
similar style.
yeah. You told me you're gonna wear the scrunchie, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, perfect.
Yeah. I've backcombed the hair. I've done the nails. Yes, got the
Yes,
earrings,
your nails look
everything.
fabulous.
Oh, thank you. Oh, how are you today? So it's morning there where you are, isn't it?
Yeah, it's 11 a.m. over here. I'm in Los Angeles. Yeah, so just
Wow.
getting the day started. I had a little bit of a late morning, but yeah,
Oh,
you're at what, 7 p.m. right now?
yeah. So 7 p.m. here, so evening time. Yeah, it's so weird. Like just to think like your morning blows my little mind.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, hello from Los Angeles.
Oh, well,
Hey.
thanks for joining us. I've been so
Yes,
excited to
thank you
have
so
you on because I know like you're such a big point horror fan and you're into the 80s and everything. And I'm a huge fan of your page, and it's just like a dream come true having you on here, Grace. Honestly,
Oh my God.
honestly, really excited.
Oh my gosh, me too. Well, I mean, it's such an honor because I've been following your page for a while because
Oh,
when I first found you, I was like, okay, the Point Horror Club. I mean, I want to be a part of that.
it's
And
all
yeah, I've
about the
been
point
reading,
horror.
absolutely. I've been reading Point Horror since I was a kid. So yeah, it's an absolute honor to join you and to talk about
Oh, thank you.
this
The
awesome.
Lifeguard. Woohoo! I've got like this shiny copy as well, but it's like really, really bright. So it's
Whoa!
yeah, it's like a foil. They did these foil editions over here with some of them, but it's just it doesn't pick it up very well on the camera. Just maybe the
Oh my
writing on the
gosh.
bottom.
Yeah, I've
But
never seen that virtually.
yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
they. I think the UK publisher got some extra funding at some point, and they did like these foil covers. And at first, I wasn't too keen, but they've grown on me a little bit now.
Okay. Very fancy.
So yeah, so we're going to be chatting the Lifeguard. So
Yes.
this book has been giving the Lifeguards a bad name since 1988 in the US, and then over here we didn't get this until 1991.
Yeah, that's
Um,
so weird.
yeah, so you got it way before us. I'm so jealous. So yeah, so we got it in 1991, and it's been giving Lifeguards a bad name ever since. Ever since. Um, so hi everyone who's joined in, and if you've got any comments, pop them up. I'll try and read them out, and there will be spoilers, lots and lots of spoilers ahead for the Lifeguard. If you haven't read it, you can come back later, or if you just want to be spoiled, that's fine. But if you have read it, yay! And as I said earlier, I've got Grace Chan with us. So she was born and raised in LA and now resides in the valleys. Grace spent her 80s childhood playing with Gem. Oh, I love Gem. And Barbie dolls. And pining after Corey Haim and River Phoenix. So I actually named my son after Corey Haim. So my son's name's Corey. So
Shut up.
yeah, so I
Oh
love the
my God,
Lost
that's
Boys so
amazing.
much that I was like, oh, I've got to do it. Corey, it's got to be. Can't be
Oh,
any other name.
my heart. That's amazing. I love that, Shelley.
So Grace always reads lots of Sweet Valley, Christopher Pike, and Point Horror. And when she's not at work, she can be found thrift shopping for 80s outfits, documenting her 80s memorabilia, which is super cool, and lots of 80s childhood memories on Instagram, and forever reading through your massive YA collection. You've got such a good collection. I'm so jealous. It's brilliant.
You know what? There's never enough time to read them, though, right?
I know.
It's like,
we need more
you
time.
just keep buying them and buying them,
I
but
know.
there's just never enough time in the world.
And you think, I'm going to get to that soon, and then no, never happens. Like 2 years later, you're like, oh dear, oops.
Yeah, it's just staring at you from your bookshelf, going, read.
It's when you buy a duplicate and you didn't realise you already had bought it like a couple of years ago, and you're like, oh,
all the time.
So many duplicates. Yeah. And apparently you're going to be writing your first YA horror thriller, which is of course going to be set in the 80s. So I'm really excited. When you told me that, I was really, really excited. So I'll look out for more soon, I hope. But
yes.
So basically we'll go through, I'll do a little introduction to the Lifeguard, because I feel like this one needs a little bit of explaining. There's a few plot holes in this one. Catch the ferry from the mainland to Beverly Island, with its East Beach and West Beach. Plenty of chances for swimming and hanging out with all of the rich kids, because they seem to be all rich on the island. And obviously it's going to be so much fun for everyone. Fear not, there are lifeguards posted on all of the beaches to keep us safe and make us feel safe, except for when they're trying to kill you, of course. What more can they do? So that's right, Kelsey is about to find out that not is all as it seems on her vacation. Her mum's boyfriend's daughter, Beth, is missing and presumed dead. And she's left these little welcome notes all over the room, including "someone is trying to kill me." Whilst the family are trying to locate a body, Kelsey sets about to explore the island, including its old, creepy, rundown lighthouse. She falls in love. I mean, there's 3 hot lifeguards to choose from. So she had a good pick. Kind of. She makes friends with the local gossip, and she manages to piss off the local creepy man, and basically gets stalked by a killer. So someone is not telling the full truth. Could there be a murderer on the island? But, this island is just positively boring, according to the residents. So, how can there be a murderer? So whilst we're talking about the island then, so the Lifeguard, it obviously goes straight into the action as soon as the main character, Kelsey, she steps off the boat. I'm not talking about when she bumps into Skip. I mean, that's the first person she sees. I mean,
on the boat.
Poor Kelsey.
I know. Welcome to the island. Here's this pompous jerk to welcome you.
Ta-da! I would just get back on. I would say, get me back on the boat. Go back.
Right.
But we find out Beth's missing, and then throughout the book we also find out there's been previous drownings on this island. Rebecca, a lifeguard who drowned the previous year under a mysterious circumstances, and also there's been 2 drownings already this summer before Kelsey even gets there. And I think mid-story they find another body that's had a boating accident or something.
Yeah.
So
we have thoughts on that body, so we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. So a bunch of people from the mainland mid-book even have this party on the beach at a discounted rate, obviously because of all the murders, but so they're still bringing people into this island. So my first question is, if you was on this island, what would you do, Grace? Would you get out of there, or would you stay and try and solve the murder mystery?
You know what? I just got back from Beverly Island.
Oh,
so
I thought you had that murderous glow.
I had a lovely time, a lot of fun in the sun, but there was some hot boy who kept trying to push me off the cliff, but
damn them hot boys.
Get away. Get away from him, and first thing I would do, book a boat back home. I
Oh,
mean, listen, there's a lot more fun places to go on your summer vacation than to go to this island where you're getting harassed by some one-eyed, creepy, gnarly old man, and constantly getting stalked, and wanting to be there's other places.
And getting pushed around as well, because our poor Point Horror girl, like those boys pushed her, like physically pushed her around constantly. Yeah. And I think at some point, one of them, I think it might be Neil, even slaps Kelsey around the face.
Right, that's right.
And it's
and it happened so kind of nonchalantly, and it was just a quick sentence, and it was right on. But you're just like, whoa, what's going on? No, this is assault. You can't do that.
No, it's like 80s and 90s book art just said they were awful, and they really were. They were awful to Kelsey, absolutely. Like, I just every time like they pulled her by her arm or like dragged her somewhere, I was like, no, what's going on?
There was even a moment, I think, when Isaac, the gnarly old one-eyed man, like grabs her, and like I think it said like he pulled her to him, or like something like that. I was like, ew, I'm just smelling the vomit and stale urine or whatever, lovely scent is emanating from his body. But
God.
Just like, poor Kelsey.
No, bless her. But yeah, Eddie's videos put, I hated the males in this book, so much sexism. And it did really feel like that. Like the only sensible ones were Kelsey and Donna, like, in my opinion, in this book.
Absolutely.
And Narissa's
I just want to say though that I'm sorry.
No, go on.
Oh, I just want to say that I think that considering her circumstances, I think Kelsey was a pretty tough point horror heroine. I mean, she's surrounded by incompetency and people who are consistently overstepping her boundaries, and for example, and gaslighting her. Like
so much gaslighting.
Dead body? What? There's no dead body. You're crazy. And even the way it starts, hello, this girl is suffering from PTSD. Her father drowned in the ocean, and her mom's like, let's go to this beach island.
Her mom just did not care. She was like, my ex, I'm a widow. Let's just go on a boat.
Like, whatever, you're gonna have a great time. What do you think? I want to hang out with my man. Was thinking, so
she just didn't really care, did she? She wanted to do what she wanted to do. Kelsey's mom, it was her name, Marjorie. I think it was.
I don't remember that. And then she's just MIA throughout the book. I mean, does she care that there's girls missing, and like, her daughter
leaves Kelsey there? Like, she goes off to the mainland at some point and is just gone, and she's like, I forgot, I think she phones up and speaks to one of the boys and says, I forgot to tell Kelsey that I'd gone to the mainland. And oh dear. Funny. But
bad parenting.
Bad parenting. But that's what we like in our point horror. We like a bit of a bad parent.
But so she's constantly getting gaslit, people overstepping her boundaries. I think at one point Justin, one of the other hot lifeguards, like kind of forces her into the ocean, even though she's like, no, I don't want to go.
And he tries to say, because he's so like sexy, so to speak, like, oh come on, I'm sure at some point it's like, I'll like luring her in with like a kiss or something like that. It was creepy. So she's just kind of dealing with this at every turn, people just definitely. To become a mum's, but there's no other kind of parent in point horror. I can only think of one point horror. Oh no, I was going to say where the parents were quite good, but actually I was going to say hide and seek. I thought one of the parents was quite good, but scrap that because I don't think they are. So yeah, we'll have to try and find some good parents, maybe. Yeah.
Right. Be a good parent.
Let's just see what people have put about Kelsey. The point on Pike Street, Narissa, she's put, Kelsey and Donna were far more polite than I would have been. I'd have shoved them in a piranha pit. Am I right, Karen? So there's a book, there's a point horror where there's like a piranha death and we're like obsessed with it.
Amazing. Which one is that? I don't know if I've read that one.
The Hitchhiker by R.L. Stein.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
okay. I know you read that one recently.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten around to it.
Oh dear. Kelsey figured it out, and yes, gaslighting her. Like, why didn't they believe her? Yeah, I agree, definitely. And Ed's put Ed Lewis has put she was pretty tough, and I think that's why, like, what was that? Every time I read Donna, I thought of Beverly Hills 90210. Yes, yes, I definitely, yeah. Oh no! And Emma's put a comment saying a comment got removed because Insta thinks it's hate speech. What did you put, Emma? It was what Skip said. Oh, interesting. So even Instagram knows. Yeah. Instagram knows.
And can we talk about how awful Skip is?
Shall we just go there? Should we go there now to Skip? How awful was he?
So awful.
I mean,
yeah.
What did you do? What were your first impressions of Skip? Like when we first meet him? Was he like straight off the bat? Bleh.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if any of you guys have read any Sweet Valley High. I also grew up reading a lot of Sweet Valley High, and there's a character in this series called Bruce Patman, and Skip really reminded me of Bruce because Bruce is also this rich, hot, entitled, smug, smarmy jerk, right? And loves showing off all his riches and, you know, his mansion on the hill and his amazing VCR and, you know, library and walk-in closet and all that good stuff. And so I immediately thought of Bruce Patman.
Yeah.
Yeah, Skip is just awful. Awful.
He's just horrible. I mean, some of the things that he says, like, I wrote some lines down, just like as I was writing them, I was like, oh. But he put like, can I help it if they lust after me? And then, the worst one, or one of the worst ones was, but I'm like fine leather. The more I'm handled, the better I get. Oh, if someone said that to me, I'd just be like, go, just go away.
Yeah, just a complete slime ball. And I wrote down some gems as well of what he said. In I think one of the first few chapters, he says, Donna, you are a typical illogical emotional female. A crazy lame-brained female if there ever was one. I mean, excuse me, Skip.
And I think at some point he does say something about you're just as crazy as two crazy females or something like that. So he was just no. Yeah. And like Richie Tankersley Cusick does tend to write. So we read April Fools, and that had a character called Frank in it. I don't know whether you've read that one, but
yeah, I love April Fools. Yeah, I love artistic stuff.
Yeah, Richie Tankersley Cusick, it's like one of my favourites. But she doesn't half write a horrible boy in every book.
Every book.
Frank was horrible. Skip's horrible. But the one thing that got me was, now this might be a bit of a plot hole or a bit of a creepy plot hole, but how old was Skip meant to be? Because they mentioned that he was meant to be meeting up with Beth on the night that she disappeared, but they referenced that Beth is only 13. And I was like, yeah, how old is Skip meant to be? So I was like, oh, no. That just, as soon as I clocked that, I was like, no, not having any of this. Skip needs to be thrown off a cliff.
Right. Well, Shelley, I mean, we'll get to this later, but we both know there's many plot holes in this book.
Yes, we found a few, because as we was reading it, we was like messaging each other. We was like,
yeah,
it's a bit weird. But what do you think of Skip's animal head gym and his waterbed? It was almost like we was being introduced to something that we really shouldn't be reading.
Yeah.
Especially as a teen. If I was thinking of like when I was a teenager, I don't know what I would think of that. I'd probably be like, oh, but no.
Yeah. He's got all his dead animal trophies, and then he goes into like this long soliloquy of like, oh, it's the hunt for me, and it's seeing the fear in the animal's eyes, and knowing that they're gonna die. And I'm just like, oh God, Kelsey, get out of there.
Get out. I know, I was really worried.
Right.
Oh dear. Yeah. Emma's oh, sorry, Grace. Emma's put it's 18 to be a lifeguard. 18 years old. So, yeah. Oh, dear. I don't know whether Richie Tankersley Cusick thought that one through when she wrote it. But never mind. Yeah.
So, Shelley, did you, when you were reading about Skip, was he suspect number one for you? I'm curious.
He was a little bit. I have to admit, at some point, I think I fell for the animal head thing when he was saying, like, he likes to track the animals and things like that. And I thought, oh, it could be him. But this is really random. But because I thought I remembered who the killer was. But I thought it was Donna. I was so suspicious of Donna. Like, I was like, it's her. It's her. It's going to be Donna.
Oh, poor innocent Donna.
I feel awful because she's so sweet. But I don't know, it was just the way that Donna knew everything that was going on. She knew all the gossip. She knew about the Brookfield murders, which was the school where Skip and Justin went. And I just thought, and she was so infatuated with Skip. And that was just a real toxic relationship that they had, like constantly arguing. And I just thought, do you know what? Wouldn't it be good if she had a bit of revenge on him? So that's why I thought it was her. How about you? Did you suspect Skip or?
Well, I immediately, hated him. So I was like, it's got to be him, right? And so can we talk about the body right now? Because that ties into
Let's go for the body, yeah. Just to recap then. So Donna and, I think you said Donna and Emma, because I was just reading a comment. Donna and Kelsey find this body on top of the hill by the lighthouse. They describe it in great detail. They obviously run down, they bump into Skip. Skip doesn't believe them as per usual and goes up to try and find the body, and the body is not there. And I think they say to Skip, oh, you must have banged so hard on the floor it rolled down the hill or something like that. Can you imagine just seeing this body roll down the hill? So who was this body? Who was it? We don't know. Who do you think it was, Grace?
I have no freaking clue. But what initially made me think it's Skip, he's the murderer, was because he went to go check on the body. And then he came back and he's just like, you're crazy. There's no gaslighting her. There's no body. You're nuts. You're seeing things. So I thought, he went up there, moved the body, was like, oh shit, I killed this girl and I left her. I need to hide the body.
So, oops, I must have forgot.
I must have forgot to hide the body. Oh. So I thought he went up there to hide the body and come back and say there's nothing there.
Yeah. But I mean, we don't actually find out who this body is. I think Eddie's videos just put, he was confused about the body as well, because who is this random body? We never find out who it is, because spoilers, but it's obviously not Beth, because Beth ends up being alive. She's just unconscious or something inside the lighthouse. So who is this random body? Is it just some random person that just ended up there? It's so confusing.
And that's what I messaged you about, Shelley. I was like, Shelley, am I missing something? Who was this body? We don't hear anything else about this girl, this dead girl.
No.
you know, just that Donna and Kelsey find this woman, a dead girl body,
Yeah.
and then that's it. You
That's
know, we
it.
never hear about it, who it was. You know,
It's just so
and
random.
where did it go? Because Skip goes up there and it's like, I don't see anything. So where did it go?
It rolled down the hill on its own, plopped into the sea, and was never to be seen ever again.
I guess you're right. Yeah.
But Eddie's videos put, remember a couple of girls drowned, so before the whole Beth situation, so it could have been one of those. Yeah, that's true. Emma's put, perhaps it was Beth. And because if she was unconscious, I suppose she could look dead, because they didn't check for a pulse, they just presumed she was dead.
She just got up and walked away.
they did, didn't they? They didn't even check to see if this person was alive. They just presumed that she was dead in the weeds.
Yeah.
Oh,
but, I mean, but her eyes were open though, because it says like her eyes were like frozen in fear, and Kelsey knew she was dead or something to that effect.
The thing is, some people sleep with their eyes open. So you'd think that you check.
You got up and walked away. Yeah, everything's
fine. Skip says to Donna, "You're dead if you do." So he was definitely a red herring. Just reading through some comments.
Yeah, he said, "Don't even think about making me jealous. You're dead if you do."
Oh, so mean. Look at him. I've just seen who people thought it was. Oh, Raj, it's all retro, but I thought it might be Donna too. Oh, I'm glad it wasn't just me.
Yeah, someone else said, I wish it had been Donna, and that would have made it so much more interesting.
Can you imagine? Sure. Loads of people thought it was Donna. I honestly, I felt like, I thought, what am I on? Like, I've obviously read too many point horrors, suspecting the poor innocent girl, bless her, who gets chucked off a cliff.
Yeah, but that's the foil, right? It's always the sweet, innocent ones.
Yeah.
And Donna like completely encompassed that, because she was always so clueless and like, oh, what? Oh, you know, Isaac grabbed you, huh? He was just always so clueless that I did suspect her as well. Like, okay, is she hiding something? Why is she this dumb?
Yeah. Oh, bless her. Aren't we mean to poor Donna? Bless her. Who was the Brookfield murder girl? Not Rebecca the Lifeguard. So the Brookfield murders like happened off the page, didn't they? So it was like meant to be like years before. Right. And basically, so again, spoilers for who the killer is. So basically, Justin, dum dum dum, he's got to be the worst serial killer in point horror history, because he must have killed quite a few people, you know, because he was killing all around the campus, at the school, you know, never got caught. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me.
From what I remember reading, they never found the bodies, so
yeah. Oh, yeah. So maybe.
Yeah, so I mean, I remember reading like, oh, they looked everywhere, and you know, no bodies ever showed up at the Brookfield murders. So, I guess murder was covering there.
Perhaps he was like bringing them home when he came home for like holidays, and like shoving them in that lighthouse, and then just using them for like I was going to say using them for recreational purposes, but not quite like that. But like just to put them in the weeds to scare people.
To scare people, right? And then once you're done scaring people, just roll them back down the hill.
Yeah. Just give them a push. Push down the hill. So Ed Lewis has put, Beth being alive really disappointed me. That sounds terrible, but it would have made more sense to me if she'd been dead. So what did you think about them finding Beth at the end? Why did they never search that lighthouse before? Like...
Right. Yeah, absolutely. You know what, Shelley? Okay, so can we, since we're talking about Beth and that we find her at the end, can we talk a little bit about the end of the book?
Yeah.
Okay. So personally, I felt cheated because Beth didn't die.
Beth wasn't
Beth didn't die. Donna didn't die, you know, and I'm just like, where's my high body count? I like my point horrors with a high body count, and I feel cheated. Everyone
the same.
alive.
I'm like, more dead bodies
Everyone
the better.
lives. Yes. Exactly. So we find Beth like bound and gagged and barely alive, but she made it, right? So yeah.
Disappointing, like, you know, and listen to us. We sound awful, but like,
We want her
you
dead.
I wonder how much time had gone past since like Kelsey first got to the island to the end of the book. I'm not sure on time scales. It's going to be like a few days, right? But I just can't believe no one would have searched the lighthouse. Like,
yeah.
It's crazy.
Wouldn't that be the first place you look?
Yeah. Oh dear, it was too obvious, wasn't it? No. Ed Lewis has put we needed a high body count. So yeah, I totally agree. Eddie's videos put, yes, Grace, give us blood. That's why we're here.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, so the only actual death that happens in present time, I mean, not counting the Brookfield murders, not counting Rebecca, the lifeguard that dies in the prologue. I mean, present day in the book, the only death was Isaac, right?
Yeah.
The old guy. That was
it was. Oh, and he got strangled with that red scarf. Beth's red scarf. Bless him. Bless him. But he dies. But then at the end, what happened? Like, they don't mention him again at all at the end. Poor Isaac. You know, obviously, I'm presuming that Justin had put the red scarf and the knife and things in his boathouse to try and set him up. Because he was obviously, Isaac was the easy one to set up because he was like this old man with the eye patch, like you mentioned earlier. But he just doesn't get another mention. We don't know what happened to him. Did he get a funeral? Like,
no one cares.
Like, oh, bless him. Like, yeah. Did they push him out to sea, like in a boat? Like,
I think.
Poor thing.
I think it said something like, well, first was strangled, and then maybe I think he washed up from shore, or washed up to the shore, so he was dumped out in the ocean.
Oh, bless him. Well, I say bless him, but he did grab Kelsey quite a lot, and like by the toilets and in the bushes and stuff. So, ooh. Larissa's put, I had thought it would turn out to be a Wicker Man type small island cult thing. Can you imagine I was going to say how cute. Imagine how good that would have been. How cute. Cool.
That would have been actually really cool. Yeah, that would have been a fun outcome. Absolutely. Yeah.
And Emma's put, and this is a good point, why couldn't Kelsey tell one guy's voice from another?
Thank you. Okay, so
holes.
Yeah, I mean, so Justin is mimicking Donna's voice at the end, and Kelsey has no clue that that's not Beth. Is that it? Like she's looking for Donna. Yeah, that's not Donna.
Yeah.
So
it was very confusing the end. Like I have to admit, I did have to read like the last bit a couple of times just because. And I get that it's meant to be confusing, but I kind of felt a little bit like Richie Tankersley Cusick couldn't make up her mind who the killer was going to be. Like, do you think she knew all along that it was going to be Justin, or do you think she just decided at the end?
That's a good question.
I think she decided at the end. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I don't know. That's a good point. Maybe she did just decide at the end, like, we're gonna make the cute, sweet, the sweet one who's very supportive of Kelsey.
Yeah. It's like, honestly, that ending was very, very confusing. And inside the cover, now I know this is a point that both me and Grace did put in our DMs. Inside the cover, put, what on earth happened to Justin? Did he just disappear? So at the end, there's no mention of if he's alive, if he's dead. Like, what do you think, Grace? Do you think he
and I wrote down what Neil said. He said, quote unquote, I tried to pull him out, but he kept swimming away from me. So does that mean he died?
Oh.
Like, you know, tide came in to the underground cave and he got swept out and died.
Yeah,
I assume he did, but it would have been nice to make it more concrete.
yeah,
Like, yeah, he's gone, you know, or whatever. But yeah, he swam away and that's
yeah.
it. So
No,
is he alive or is
he's
he not?
alive. Oh, and then he goes and becomes like some early 90s serial killer.
There you go. He swims to another island to continue his murderous rampage.
Oh
Yeah.
dear. Yeah, no, I like that. I
Yeah.
like to think that. Oh, there was a sequel there and she didn't write it. What a shame.
There you go. That would have been a perfect sequel. Yeah, he swims away, survives, and goes on to kills more unsuspecting men.
Raj has put she agrees that the ending was confusing. And then
Eddie.
and then about Richie Tankersley Cusick, whether she knew. F.R. Snow, I forgot your name, I do apologise, but I think she knew it was Justin, but has them all act horrible, so it could be anyone. Yeah, so maybe she did know it was Justin. And Ed Lewis has put it was disorientating, the ending. And Narissa said a few people on podcasts she's listened to has found the ending confusing, but maybe that was the point. Like, she was in this like state of panic and like she broke her ankle or twisted her ankle or something, so she was in this state of panic. So maybe, you know, that was the whole point, was to disorientate her and us as readers. Maybe it wasn't
Maybe.
just it wasn't just Richie Tankersley Cusick making it up.
Yeah. That's a funny comment right there. Do we think the lifeguard on the cover is channeling the Hoff? I mean, and Eddie says he looks like a 40-year-old man. So, yeah, I mean, this does not look like a teen lifeguard.
No, it really doesn't. But yeah, but I did a little reel because loads of people said, "Oh, it looks like Billy from Stranger Things." So I did like a little reel because I do have to agree, like it does a little bit. Although Billy's a bit more better looking, really, isn't it?
Yeah. But speaking of the murder, swimming away, and you know Kelsey being confronted with him, Kelsey survives a car crash. She was thrown 20 feet from the Jeep, right?
Yeah.
And she's alive, and then she, you know, hobbles over to the lighthouse and hears Donna's voice, right?
Yeah.
Makes her way down the stairs of the lighthouse to the ground, the below ground, into an underground cave, and then the railing breaks, and then she falls, you know, below into the darkness, and then she survives that, and I'm just like, how is she still alive? She's
superpowers. Superpowers. She was like, I've had to put up with all this from these boys pushing me around. Yeah. No dodgy lighthouse is going to beat me. Yeah, Kelsey. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, ultimate final girl, right? She survived.
Yeah. I did like Kelsey. I thought I really did think she was a good point horror girl. Like, she just, no matter what she went through, she just kind of like, she just got on with it. You know, she didn't really get hysterical that much like most point horror girls.
Right.
But she did occasionally, but rightly so for certain things that happened. But yeah, I kind of liked her. Definite final girl. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely. So, what's up with the shark in the water? You want to talk about that?
Oh, the shark in the water. Yes. So this is when, isn't it, when Justin coaxes her into the water because obviously she's afraid. There was some mention of sharks before that, but the bit that made me laugh was, so she feels something. So they go into the water, don't they? And then the wave comes over and they lose each other, and Justin goes off. And then she feels something brush her leg. And she thinks it's a shark, so she does freak out a little bit about that. But what was it that brushed her leg? Because I think the description was really rude, or like I read it rude. It was something like something hard brushed her leg in the water. Oh God! So
what is it? I don't know.
what do we think it was? Do we think it was a shark, or was she just imagining it, or was it Justin's body, like
Just
trying to?
funny. I don't know. And
Yeah.
Kelsey is very adamant that she saw this, right? So
Yeah, definitely. She was adamant. She felt this shark, and I think Neil says, this is where we need Karen, right? So Karen, who joins the Point Our Book Club, she seems to know everything about like sharks, piranhas. I'm really scared because she knows everything. but but yeah, apparently, if it was a shark, I think Neil says something like it would have like cut her skin because they're quite abrasive and that. But yeah, so I'm guessing that it was Justin just obviously doing his little trick, what he was doing, pretending that he was. I mean, what was the point in that?
I don't know.
What was the point? And Emma's put, this is when I suspected Justin. Now, I know at this point, this is the point you messaged me saying, I think I remember who the killer is. So was this when, did you suspect Justin at this point, or did you think it was someone else?
You know what, Shelley? I read this book maybe 2-3 years ago, and I was remembering it as I went along. So no, I didn't. Rereading it, I forgot that it was Justin, honestly.
Yeah.
I think I was just so consumed with my hatred for Skip that I was like, it's that jerk.
Yeah, he just got us so mad. Karen's put it was probably a bit of seaweed. Yeah,
oh, it's seaweed again. What seaweed? There's no seaweed in your room.
No
you're
seaweed.
Crazy. Yeah.
Oh, talking about seaweed, there was a funny moment that really made me laugh. So, I think the boys go up to the bedroom because she feels like someone's been in a room, and they leave the seaweed and these imprints on the rug, like wet marks. And the boys try to say, "Oh, it's just you, Kelsey. You know, gaslight."
Right.
There's no seaweed up there, and then later on, she finds the seaweed like under the bathroom door, I think.
Yeah. Shoved. Yeah.
But the seaweed somehow springs a memory into her head of the phone call that she had with her best friend Jen on the mainland, and that there was like an echo, and it suddenly she just remembers that you know, someone must have been on the other end of that phone because they've got like a dual phone thing. Do you remember those days? But like, how did that spring that thought into her head? It was just really random. It made me laugh.
I'm not sure how that goes hand in hand, but I mean,
yeah,
she is suffering from, you know, post-traumatic stress from her dad drowning, so I guess just random fingers, you know. But,
yeah, so Emma put, if it was a shark, it would have bitten her leg off. Yeah, that's true. I'm liking the seaweed idea, or that it was just, well, I don't want to be too rude, but it could have been, they were just kissing, like, yeah, anyway.
Right, yeah.
Also, Karen's put, also the presence of a hot dude would not make someone's PTSD phobia of swimming disappear. Yeah, Justin seemed to think that he could make it disappear.
He could just disappear, yeah.
Yeah.
Rude. So rude. Overstepping boundaries, yeah. Did you ever suspect Neil, the eldest son?
I thought with Neil, I thought he was a little bit, it was too obvious to be Neil. I think teen me would have definitely suspected him. But older me was a bit like, no, it can't be him. Because he was like this brooding, moody person. And yeah, I just thought it was a bit too obvious. What did you think of Neil? Did you like Neil?
I mean, he was just so stoic and so cold and so unfeeling, and, you know, and then all of a sudden at the end, he turns into like this sweet, emotionally, you know, caring guy. And it kind of maybe implies at the end that there's going to be a romantic connection there, right? Because
where did that come from? Because
nowhere, it came from nowhere. Yeah, because at the end he's like comforting Elsie in the hospital. Like everything's gonna be okay. And I think
Kissing
it
her
ends with,
hand.
yeah, his hand like brushing hers or something. So it kind of implies that there's gonna be a romance there. But I'm just like,
Yeah.
where did that come from? He's been a dick this whole time to her, and then all of a sudden he's just sweet as pie.
Oh God. I mean, he was. I mean, he's the one who slapped her. He definitely gaslights her. He definitely pulls her around by her arm quite a lot. But he did come across, I think, at the beginning, I think when Kelsey first meets Isaac and she kind of runs away and kind of slips down the side of the cliff, and Neil seems to be there and catches her, and he's like, you could have broken something. So he seemed to have an adult head on his shoulders. But yeah, I think it was a little bit obvious. But I can't quite like Neil. I thought he was
Yeah, at the
okay.
end, yeah, at the end, yeah, I think he
Oh,
kind
at the end, yeah,
of took
actually, yeah.
charge and was just like, yeah.
But
Um,
what did you think about the whole twist with Neil, that he'd been in this psychiatric hospital not far from the school that Skip and Justin went to? I think was it Brookfield Psychiatric Hospital?
yeah.
And there's kind of this, and he says it himself, he had depression, and he did something silly, like he wanted to kill himself. And I found that it happens quite at the end when he says that. But I thought for a point horror, like that's quite a deep conversation to have, even though it was only short. And I think Richie Tankersley Cusick does do that a couple of times in some of the books. I know Teacher's Pet, there was some deeper, meanings and stuff like that. But do you think that it was worth putting that in the book? Like, was it worth mentioning that, considering he like slaps Kelsey around and does all this and that and the other?
I think that was put in as kind of a foil, like, oh, he's crazy, he was in a psych ward, he's the killer. I
Yeah.
think it was kind of put in to kind of maybe confuse the reader and be like, oh, Neil has secrets. He might be the one. And
Yeah.
who knows if he really went in because of, he was depressed and he tried to kill himself. Maybe he went in because he tried to kill others. We don't know.
Yeah, we just don't know.
So yeah, so maybe it was just kind of a foil for the reader to like suspect Neil being
Yeah.
the one.
Yeah, and Melina has just put in Trick or Treat. It seems to be one of her tropes that she uses this, like, she gives a little bit of a serious side, like right at the end, just to try and maybe redeem some of the behaviour. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, she just seemed to just slot this in quite a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's interesting. I'd love to know, like, why she'd do that when she makes these characters so like not likable and then does something quite serious. Just I don't know.
And then yeah, Beth was the only one that wrote him when he was in the psych
Yeah,
hospital. So sad.
bless. I
About him.
know. Oh, bless her.
But that would have been like maybe another reason for him to kind of snap, right? And be the murderer.
Yeah.
Because he's already in the psych ward and no one loves him because they just dumped him away.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that's why I thought he was a bit too obvious, because obviously he had this like secret, and even like some of the, I think Skip or Justin, I think it was Justin, does try and steer you towards thinking it's Neil. It's like, oh, he knows more about Beth's death than he's letting on, kind of thing.
Yeah. He knows things. He knows more than he's letting on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just saw someone, I think it was Emma, put Skip versus Frank from April Fools. So Frank was really awful as well. But do you know what? I think Skip actually beats Frank for me. I thought he was awful. I don't know whether you remember much about Frank from April Fools, but he was vile.
You know what? I read that maybe 3 Halloweens ago, and I don't remember. I'm gonna have to go back.
No, he's we read it last April for Point High Book Club, and he's like etched in our memory. We can't get him out. But he was just the worst. But I
Oh
think
no.
Skip might actually beat him there. Oh dear. So one of my questions was as well, while we're talking about like serious stuff, Skip does this whole speech about like his privilege. So obviously he's showing Kelsey his dungeon of heads in his gym and whatnot. But he
Right.
kind of does this like speech about how he's from a privileged background and he doesn't necessarily like it. So he tries to claim he acts out because he's like rebelling against it. What did that change when you heard that? Did that change your mind on Skip at all? Like, did you feel a bit sorry for him, or did you still just think that's no reason?
No, not at all. It made me despise him even more.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, he's like
no.
showing off his custom designer wardrobe and like
Oh,
his
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 waterbed.
his personal computer system. You know, so high tech, right? His larger than life TV and VCR, and then his
Oh,
dungeon
all
of
his
dead
privilege,
animals.
basically.
Yeah, I'm just like, this guy's the worst,
Yeah,
worst.
yeah.
So yeah, no. I didn't feel sorry for him whatsoever.
No.
And then at the end, it appears that Donna gets back with him. Is that what you got as well?
Yeah, so I got the impression that they got back with each other. How do we feel
Mhm.
about that? They just shouldn't be together, right? They shouldn't.
No, I
No.
mean poor Donna. She's always crying because they're, she's like, oh, I got into another fight with Skip, and you're
Oh,
just like,
dear.
girl, leave him.
So toxic. But yeah, I got the impression at the end that they were together.
Mhm.
And I think I just put my head in my hands and I was like, oh no,
Yeah,
Donna,
yeah.
sweet, innocent Donna who got thrown off a cliff and survived.
Yeah.
I thought Donna was a goner. I thought
You
she
know
was
what?
gone.
I literally thought that was the chapter of Donna's death because it's described as her body hurtled down the cliff. When
Yeah.
your body is hurtled down any cliff, I would imagine you wouldn't survive.
No. How did she survive? Like, it just proves these girls in this point horror were like superhuman.
I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Moral of the story, don't wear a 80s purple windbreaker walking along the cliff because someone.
We've all learnt our lesson there. Not
Yeah.
what to do.
Yeah, what not to do. So
Yeah.
I felt a little cheated. Everyone was alive, all these missing girls presumed dead. They were all alive. Everything's fine in the end.
Karen's put, we need to have a leaderboard where we update each month with the worst villains. Oh yeah, I'll have to sort that out, Karen. That's a good idea. That would be interesting. Villains or point horror boys, maybe. We'll have to have a think. So I know we briefly did mention Isaac, but I was really interested to ask you, like, if do you think Isaac was actually trying to help Kelsey? Why didn't he just tell her who he
Why
kept
didn't
saying
he
he
just
knew?
tell her? Why did he? I mean, he keeps, grunting and groaning, like, oh, I know who did it, and you better watch out. Well,
Take care.
her, tell her if you're trying to help her who it is. Watch out for this guy.
Yeah,
But
like
instead we're just inundated with descriptions from Richie Tankersley Cusick of how, vile and
yeah,
foul Isaac is.
smelly.
Smelly, stinky, gnarly old man with one eye and bad
Oh,
breath, you know.
just like I just kept thinking every time. I thought maybe like in his own little way, he was trying to help her. But yeah, just tell the girl, tell her who. I mean, did he know Beth was alive, or did he think Beth was dead? What do we think? Because he kept implying she was dead. So
Yeah.
maybe he. How would he not know she was in that lighthouse? This is confusing.
Interesting. And what's he doing with her scarf in the first place? Like, did he just
Mm.
find it and keep it? what the hell?
Oh, that's a bit weird. See, I wondered whether Justin planted that in his boathouse.
Wow.
But it was in a bit of I think it was in like a chest or something. So, maybe he was like, I don't know what his motives were at all. Like, why would he do that? Or did Justin plant it? And yeah, very confusing.
We know that Isaac's boathouse had the scarf and bloody fish knives and big rats, right?
Yeah.
Big rats to scare Kelsey away.
Yeah. Oh God. It just made me laugh, like that he just wouldn't tell her like who was the killer. The killer. When not many people died.
I think there was a comment just now that's like, where's the police? Yeah, there's missing girls. Where's the cops? Where's the parents? Like, what's going on? No one seems to really be doing a good job. Anything.
And they just keep getting people to the island, tourist people to the island. Come get murdered.
Yeah.
Come have a party. That the lifeguards will save you.
Yeah. Be murdered. It's okay. Yeah.
So Richie Tankersley Cusick, she's very descriptive as well. Some of the descriptions of, like, you did feel like you was there and that, and some of the descriptions that she does can be scary. Like that ending, even though it was confusing, I thought it was quite scary.
Sure, yeah.
So what parts did you find scary? Did you find anything scary, or were you just like, oh, I've read too many point horrors, it's not scary for me?
You know what, at some point they all kind of gel together.
Yeah.
Because we've read so much, right? But no, I mean, I thought the ending was quite thrilling, I mean, she falls into this dark pit, full of bats and slimy walls and mold, and she's just kind of, blindly like groping around, hearing or thinking that Donna is down there. So, and then the killer is down there and stalking her. And so it's that thrill of, okay, like, how should we make it out of here?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even the description of like when Kelsey thinks there's someone in her room, so she gets out of the shower and she thinks there's someone in her room, you actually do feel like she writes it really well, that you actually do feel the tension. And that's why I think Richie Tankersley Cusick was my favourite as a teen, because of the way that she wrote, and she's still one of my favourites now. Even though I can forgive her for dodgy boys and and stuff like that, but but Karen's put the ending was dark and creepy despite the confusion. And Melina's put, I think Tankersley Cusick is really good at settings, and she really does nail the setting. Like if I think of Teacher's Pet, especially, which is on the summer camp writers retreat, she really does nail the settings really, really well. But
she's definitely one of my favorites too. She really nailed just the atmosphere and the mood and the setting perfectly. I feel like it's a lot more elevated young adult horror as opposed to some of her contemporaries. You definitely get a sense that it's a more slightly more mature read for YA, because she pulls you in with her descriptions and sets you perfecly. So
definitely. Oh, I'm glad she's one of your favorites as well. It makes me so happy. FR Snow's put, it was quite atmospheric. I haven't read it since literally back in the day, and it was written well, but with lots of sexism and toxic relationships. I'm wondering, when I was younger, whether I would have picked up as much toxicity as what I do now in these books. Obviously, I'm older, and I know more than I did as a teen. But I think as a teen, I probably would have liked Skip as a teen. That sounds really bad, but like I probably would have been like, oh, and Justin, I would have been, oh, they're all so hot, In my, oh, teen Shelley in her bedroom, like, oh, I can't decide between the three. Which one I like more?
Well, the murderer is, always some hot boy in these books, right?
Or either the best friend or the hot boy.
Yeah, best friend or hot boy.
Yeah. But yeah, so F.R. Snow's but it was of its time, and that's the thing with these point horrors, isn't it? It's like you can forgive them to a certain extent because obviously they're written like 30 plus years ago. I can't believe I'm saying that. It feels like it's only yesterday.
Yeah, and another thing, besides the toxicity, whatnot, it's also a lot of our beloved young adult books, and I laugh at this, but I do so, with a 2022 lens. Is there's a lot of ageism because it's always like, oh, that gross old man, or poor Isaac, right?
Yeah,
that disgusting old gnarled man, and so it's like, oh man,
that's so true.
So that's also the foil, right? It's like, oh,
and there is always like an old man who's like, and you're like, oh,
yeah.
Oh, definitely. The shelves have eyes, as put. I think Skip was true to the decade he was written in, to be honest. Yeah, and I agree with that, and that's why I say, like, sometimes you can just forgive a lot with these older books. And it's good, like, we can spot that it's an issue and we can spot that that's not right. But with these older books, definitely we can forgive them to a certain extent.
Absolutely. Yeah. These books still have my heart, and they're such a fun, nostalgic read for me.
No, definitely. F.R. Snow's put Sweet Valley High had so many toxic relationships. Yeah. I must read some more Sweet Valley High. Oh, are you still there, Grace? Oh, have we lost Grace? Oh, I'm not sure if we've lost Grace. Oh, hopefully she might come back. Let's see if she comes back in a minute. But Emma's put, it's not fun unless there's some crazy old man. Yeah, very true. And F.R. Snow's put ageism. But if it was reading at 11 or 14, anyone over 25 is old. Let me see if I can add Grace back in. Right, I've just sent Grace another invite, so hopefully she'll come back in, and then we can say thank you, because Grace has been really, really good. So I saw Larissa was talking about the boy next door earlier, so we'll have to do that for Point Horror Book Club at some point, because it's got a really bad point horror boy in there, like so bad. I can't remember his name, Larissa. If you can remember his name, let me know. But he's got really, it's just awful, but it's got a really good ending. So even though like it's one of my worst point horrors, what I class as worst point horror, I'll just add Grace back in. Hopefully Grace will come back. We'll have to do it for Point Horror Book Club and see. Is Grace coming back? Oh, let's have a look. Accept. Oh, Gracie says unable to join. You try. Oh, I'll see if I can add Grace back in. Let me see. Just so we can say thank you, and then hopefully she'll come back. Oh, thanks, Eddie. You just ordered next month's book. So next month's book is going to be The Forbidden Game, which I've never actually read before. So this is actually a point horror I've actually never read. So I'm really, really interested in seeing what that's about. Emma, I love the awful characters. What will the choice for the voting be in August? So August is already picked. So it's going to be The Forbidden Game by L.J. Smith. Which apparently, I've never read it, but apparently it's got a very interesting character in it, and it's about a game, and that's all I really ever know. And it's one of Karen's favourites, so I'm hoping it still holds up. And Oh, thanks, Ed. Thanks for joining us. What I'll do, I'll finish off the chat then, and I'll say a little. Oh, is that? Oh, you're back! Yay!
Let's
Oh,
see.
just turn your yay!
Okay, my phone is gonna die because it overheated, but I just wanted to say bye.
Yeah, no, thank you, Grace. I was just like rambling to hope that you would come back, but no, but thank you, honestly. Like, it's been so great to have you on, and hopefully we can do it again soon. And thank you for
yes, I would love to.
thank you
so
for
much
loving
for
Point Horror as much as us, and thanks to everyone in the comments for joining in as well. So, and we'll have another book discussion next month, which will be The Forbidden Game by L.J. Smith, I think it is. But yeah, Grace, thank you. Honestly, like, I'm such a fan, and thank you for saying yes when I asked.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was a lot of fun. And stay away from hot lifeguards.
Stay away from hot lifeguards.